Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. So I want to welcome you all. Thank you all. Some of you I've seen before. Some of you may be new. I'm Susan Black. I'll introduce myself. No, I'm not your tour guide. As you can see, I'm not in Dublin. But I am the founder of Wowzitude in our travel circle. And we, of course, partner with My Health Angel to bring you each month these live stream tours. And as Nicole said, this is live. We say the wow moment. Wowzitude is the now moment, and we love getting your questions. There's two ways to get questions. The first is to put it in Zoom chat. At the appropriate time, I'll ask our guide Dave for a question, but I don't want to step on narratives, so we don't open our mics, and Dave will ask me time to time, Susan, are there any questions? And then I will give him the questions. So I try not to do that, but also you can also text me, because I found that some people find it easier to text, and we will be putting my number, my text number, it's my phone call, my number, so that you can text me, because we want to make it really easy for you to do so. So my number is 201-286-2767. And for you, those of you in Jersey, you will know 201 is New Jersey, and that's where I'm located. We do this every month with My Health Angel. Some of you may have been to Paris with us or Budapest. We just, we get all over. And of course, it's March, which all month long is Ireland. It is St. Patrick's Day. We are celebrating it. And we are just so fortunate to have Dave, who is one of the very best guides. Now, how do I know he's one of the very best guides? Because for 3 years, I was the chief commercial officer for CIE Tours, which is the official Irish tour operator, having literally hundreds of thousands of Americans visit Ireland. So I take my tour guides very seriously, and you are in for a treat with our guide today, Dave. He is about the best. We're going to be seeing so much of Ireland, so much of Dublin, and we do want to hear your questions. Now, I always start off with a couple of fun facts just to get us in the mood about going where we are. And I'm just going to start off with a couple because, of course, Dave is going to fill it in. Do you know, for example, that Dublin is, in fact, has a big connection with Vikings? So you will see that the oldest city in Ireland that has connections with Vikings, and actually there's a lot of Viking shows that are done, is there in Dublin itself. And speaking of old and things that are very important, now I know a lot of you are wearing the green. I'm taking my, if you can see, this is my own personalized Guinness glass, because Dublin is home to the beer brand Guinness. It was actually created by Arthur Guinness at the brewery at St. James Gate, for those who've been there, in 1759. And it's produced still there to that day. You can actually visit the Guinness storehouse. It is amazing. And of course, who doesn't love Guinness? By the way, Arthur and Olivia did have 21 children. So in my book, that was enough. That was, and 10 million pints of Guinness are drunk every day all around the world. Now, Nicole mentioned Temple Bar. She's sitting there right behind her. Did you know Temple Bar used to be a sandbank? Bar means banks in English. We're going to be visiting there today. You'll see what it looks like today. Very different indeed. And if you have grandchildren, it's where they want to hang out, and you'll see why. So, and also we're going to see Trinity College. You'll ask us what the famous folks are there. And you'll find out quite a lot of information about Trinity College, which, by the way, ranks up there with Harvard, Yale, Cambridge, Oxford, and you'll hear from Dave how it's ranked by Forbes. Very interesting, et cetera, et cetera. So there's just so much stuff to go. It's the oldest, Dublin is home to the oldest pub in Ireland. By the way, I'm going to ask a little quiz. We'll have a running quiz. What year do you think the oldest pub in Ireland, it's called the Brazen Head, no Googling, is? And we'll just have that as a little contest, because I like to kind of tease things up a little bit. So with that, I'm going to not tease you anymore and have us all go over to Dave in Dublin. Dave, welcome. You can turn on your video so we can see the beautiful, and by the way, it turned sunny. It was pouring rain before. It's now sunny for us. We have luck of the Irish. So Dave, I see that you are there, but your camera is not turned on.
Yeah, you've disabled it. Disabled it.
Oh, somebody disabled
There
Dave's
you
I got
go.
it. It's on
There
now.
he
It's
is. We
on
don't
now.
want
It's
to
on now.
disable him. There
Okay.
he is. Welcome,
Hi,
Dave.
folks.
Welcome.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Dublin. Céad Míle Fáilte, 100,000 welcomes. Conasatatu. How are you? How's everybody doing? Folks, I'm going to take you around the beautiful city of Dublin today. We're going to see some of the most iconic buildings and landmarks and what have you. And we'll have some fun at the same time. As Nicole, I think, mentioned earlier on, we have the wonderful Temple Bar pub. We're actually going to be going in there as well. And also, Susan mentioned Trinity College. We're going to go through the gates of Trinity College. It's one of Dublin's or Ireland's, or is Ireland's most celebrated university. But without further ado, folks, the temperature right here today is about 12 degrees Celsius, which would be about 54 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's not too bad. But we're going to kick off our tour, folks. I hope you enjoy it. As I say, Susan mentioned, if you have questions, ask these questions, and hopefully I'll be able to answer them all for you, that I'll have the right answers. If not, maybe you can send me an email and I'll get them answers back to you, but I'm sure I probably will have the answers for you. Folks, we're starting off and we're kicking off our tour right here as I adjust the camera and try to get, okay. So we're right here, folks, at the Molly Malone statue here in Dublin City. Now there's hundreds and hundreds of statues and busts and monuments throughout all of Dublin. But this is the most popular and the most visited statue in all of Dublin. Now, Molly Malone is a legendary figure, and she was around here in Dublin in the 1600s. And she was a fishmonger, and she wheeled her wheelbarrow through the streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Now, she sold fish during the day and sold herself at night. And she actually died. She was a very young woman, and she was very famous around Dublin and so forth during these times. But she unfortunately died very, very young of a fever on the 13th of June, 1699. Now, the 13th of June here in Dublin is Molly Malone Day, where people will come and they'll celebrate and put flowers on our graves, on our statue right here. Now, Dublin people have a saying for Molly Malone, some vulgar sayings, I hope you don't mind me saying, but Dublin people will call Molly Malone the tart with the cart, or the fish with the dish, or another one, the trollop with the scallops. Now, legend also has it, or superstition has it, that if you were to touch, she's very well endowed, if you were to touch her left breast, you will have good luck for the rest of the day. Now, this may have been what happened to me today, because it was lashing raining out here, folks, right up until 2 o'clock. And I came by, touched her left breast, and the sun came out. But unfortunately, the grey clouds are back, and I'm hoping that they go away. So this is and actually, there's an unofficial anthem for Molly Malone, which is the unofficial Dublin anthem, and the song is called Molly Malone. You may have heard it before. I'll give you a couple of bars of it. I'm not a good singer, but it goes like this. In Dublin's fair city, where the girls are so pretty, I first set my eyes on sweet Molly Malone, as she wheels her wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. That's all you're getting, folks. We'll move on. And I just want to show you here, this is O'Neill's pub. Dates back 300 years. And this is a great Irish traditional pub as well. They got music here 7 nights of the week. They also have a great carvery dinner as well. So it's a really, really popular pub and so forth. And obviously it is because of its location beside the most visited statue in all of Dublin, as I say, the Molly Malone statue. Now we're moving on, folks, and we're going to make our way down to the absolutely amazing Trinity College Dublin, Ireland's most celebrated university. And it dates back to 1592. It was established by Queen Elizabeth I, who was the daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. And I'll show it you from a distance here, folks. This is the iconic Trinity College from outside the gates right here. And we're going to make our way in there. I hope it's open. I hope the gates aren't closed. But absolutely beautiful university. Now, it's considered to be one of the 7 ancient universities of both Great Britain and Ireland. And wait, you see inside of it. When we go inside and through these gates and so forth, you will see some of Dublin's most iconic landmarks and buildings inside here. I'm just hoping the doors are open. I'm looking from a distance there. The picture here is open. It is open, great, folks. But also, Trinity College houses one of the most, obviously, the most famous or the most important medieval manuscript ever written, which is the Book of Kells. I'll actually go and show you the building where the Book of Kells is housed in the old library here at Trinity College. Hello to Johnny and everyone. So folks, here we are. We're making our way into Trinity College here in Dublin City. Right in the heart of the city is Trinity College. If you look straight ahead of me there, this is the Camp Parnell, or the bell tower, if you like. And that was established in 1853 by architect Thomas Kirk. Now, there's superstition among the students here that if you were to walk through the archway here of the, or underneath the bell tower here, or the Camp Parnell as they call it, while the bells are ringing and while you're doing your exams, superstition has that you will fail your exams. So students are very, very wary during exam times to walk through the Camp Parnell. So have a look at some of these beautiful iconic buildings, folks. And they are absolutely amazing. This one right here. Now, all of these buildings, this area here is called Parliament Square. There's 5 squares all told here at Trinity College. But this one is called Parliament Square. It's named after the old Irish Parliament here in Dublin, which is just outside the gates of Trinity College, which I'll show you in a little bit. But they were the ones that funded this college right here, and they funded the building of these buildings right here, who were actually built by William Chambers, who was the architect to Richard III. Now, they're mostly all date back to the 1750s and 1760s. This is the administration building straight ahead of you there. And here, right, this building right here is the graduates hall where all the graduations take place. Now, during graduation ceremonies, there will be families of all the graduates will be lined up outside this beautiful hall to go inside to honor their children or their sons and daughters, their parents and their brothers and sisters, as they're there to get their degrees. Now, this is the old chapel right here, folks. This one dates back to 1764, this building right here. And originally, Trinity College would have been a Protestant university, but since 1970, Catholics were allowed to enroll. There was actually the Catholic Church forbade its congregation from coming to this university right up until 1970. They were early on in the 1783 allowed to come for a short period of time, but the Catholic Church would forbade, or as I say, their congregation from coming. But it's now a multi-national university where there's people from over 100 countries, students from all over 100 countries that attend Trinity College here today. Now, my favorite of all these buildings right here is the Graduates Memorial Building that you see right here, folks. The last favorite. So this is absolutely true. Now, this building, the original building here dates back to the late 1600s, but this was actually rebuilt and remodeled, if you like, in 1899. Also, a lot of movies have been made here on the campus of Trinity College, including Education Rita and the debating part of this is like a great debate hall in here at the Graduates Memorial Building. And the debating scenes in Educating Rita was actually performed right here or filmed right here at the Graduates Memorial Hall. That starred Michael Caine and Julie Waters. There's lots and lots of other movies that have been made here on the campus, including Michael Collins and many, many others. This right here is the dining hall. This one dates back also to 1864, and there was a big fire right here in the late 1970s, and the whole building was more or less gutted. But they rebuilt it to look the exact same way as it would have looked in 1764, and it was only rebuilt in 1984. Now, there's also so many graduates, famous graduates from alumni, if you like, that went to Trinity College, including Oscar Wilde. Everybody's heard of Oscar Wilde, of course. Now, Oscar Wilde just spent 2 years here, and he won a scholarship here from his boarding school. And then 2 years later, after being here for 2 years, he went and won a further scholarship, this time to Oxford. Then also you had Bram Stoker, the author of Dracula. You might have seen a Dracula movie, you might have read the book Dracula, just one of his great writings. He also attended here, and he was Oscar Wilde's best friend. And there's an amazing story that Oscar Wilde had been dating a lady called Frances Falcon, and she went on later to marry Bram Stoker. Now, also, you had Samuel Beckett, was also a graduate here of Trinity College, and Samuel Beckett won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1969. You might know some of his works, such as Endgame, or Waiting for Godot is the other one. Now,
so I just wanted to interrupt a second, Dave, from what you're showing us, this beautiful campus, and just give a little color to those of us here in the States whose children and grandchildren have been attending college. So Trinity College is oftentimes compared with and up to the same league as Harvard, Yale, Cambridge, Oxford. It's in that same league. We're very lucky to get on campus because it's 4 o'clock, as you know, in Dublin, and they close the doors. So, visitors can't get there, only students after a certain time. So we're lucky that we're in here today. And also, as someone who just finished paying tuition herself, tuition for Irish students, very competitive to get in. You can imagine many want to get in. It's got a very, very low admittance, but if you're admitted, the tuition is free. The tuition is free. So can you imagine going to Harvard for free? So that's what it is in Ireland. For out of country, it's about $15,000 a year, but it is free for Irish students who get in.
That is true, Susan.
That's it.
Yeah. And also, just to mention, it's one of the 7 ancient universities of both Great Britain and Ireland here. Most of them, the other ones would be in the UK, such as Susan mentioned, Oxford and Cambridge. Also, this campus right here, it's a 47-acre campus, and it has been ranked as one of the 15 most beautiful college campuses in the whole entire world. Now, I don't know the exact figure, but I did read before there's 25,000 colleges throughout the world. So this campus is in the top 15. You're only seeing a little bit of it now. You're only seeing Parliament Square and so forth. But what I did want to show you right here, folks, is this is where the Book of Kells is housed. Now, the Book of Kells tells the story of the four Gospels of the Bible and so forth. And it was written by monks off the coast of Scotland on an island called Iona in the year 800. It took over 100 years to write. Now, what happened was, on the island, they were raided by the Vikings, and 70 of the monks were killed by the Vikings. So they moved to Kells Abbey in County Meath, which is about 40 minutes drive right here from where we're standing here in Dublin. And they completed the book there. As I said, it took 100 years to write. Now, it was actually found in the ruins of Kells Abbey in the 12th century. As I say, it was written between 800 and 900, took 100 years. It was written by Irish monks who are part of St. Columba Monastery off the Iona. Now, this is Ireland's 4th biggest tourist attraction to come and have a look at the Book of Kells. In 2019, over 1.2 million people came here to look at the beautiful Book of Kells. Now, they only turn 1 page per day. Now, this is housed in what's called the old library right here in Trinity College. Now, the library here at Trinity College, where the Book of Kells is housed, they get a free copy of every single book that's ever written in both the UK and both Britain and in Ireland. So they get a free copy. There's over 5 million books right here in this library, folks. The old library in Trinity College. Now, there's lots and lots of sports teams here as well. They've got over 50 sports clubs within this college. And they have, in 1854, they set up a rugby club here, and it's the oldest rugby club in the whole entire world that's still in existence today, 1854. I mentioned about Samuel Beckett, who was an outstanding sportsman. He won the Nobel Prize, say, for literature in 1969, but he was here in the 1920s, and he was an outstanding cricketer. I know you guys in the US are probably not familiar with the sport of cricket, but it's a huge sport in the British Isles, obviously Ireland, and all across England, Australia, all of the Commonwealth countries. It's very, very, very big. And he was, they say, the greatest cricketer to ever play on these great fields here at Trinity College. It wasn't until 1904 that women were permitted to attend Trinity College, which was really, really sad. But the women that did come here in 1904 were from the universities in Oxford and Cambridge. And why did they come to Trinity College here in Dublin? Because degrees for women were not recognised in both Oxford and Cambridge, but they were here in Trinity. And they were known as the steamboat ladies for the mode of transport that they came. And lots of them went on to be women's activists and so forth, suffragettes, lawyers, and what have you for women's rights. So this is Trinity College here, Dublin, folks. I just want to show you one other building. If you look at the very, very back building, now it's under repair and so forth, or being remodeled or refurbished, if you like. But this is the accommodation rooms for the students. It's called the Rubik's building. And this is the oldest building on the campus, and it dates back to the 1600s.
And Dave, we're getting a question on some of the statues that we're passing. If you could kind of highlight a couple of them, please.
Okay, here, this is George Salmon. Now, George Salmon came here as a student when he was 14 years old. Now, just think about a 14 years old. That would never happen today. But back in those days, it did happen in the 1800s, where the students were very, very young. Now, he went on to graduate from Trinity College here and spent 70 years of his 84, I think he was 86 years old he was when he died, I think. But he spent 70 of those years here at Trinity College, because when he graduated, he went on to be a lecturer, a professor right here, and he was professor of mathematics. Now, he invented what's called the Salmon theorem. His name is George Salmon. Salmon theorem is what and it's still used today in universities across the world. And he was also a clergyman as well. So he would have actually been the clergyman right here at the chapel right here at Trinity College. Now, he was also the provost here, as you can see, from 1888 to 1904, looking after all student affairs. The provost is the most important person on the campus as regards the administration and everything else and the running of the school. Today, for the first time in 429 years of Trinity College's history, there is a woman, and she was elected as provost. Her name is Helen Doyle. She's the first woman in Trinity College history to be elected as provost, and she was so in August 2021. And that is something, it's remarkable, and it's great that that's happening and so forth. So the first woman provost last year, 2021, Helen Doyle. As we make our way, folks, out of Trinity College, if you have any other questions about Trinity College, I could definitely fill you in if you wish. As I say, it is a beautiful, beautiful college. Now, it's open to the public. Anybody can come in here at any time, 7 days a week. It's about €15 to go if you visit the Book of Kells, which is absolutely, it's not just the Book of Kells itself, it's the library as well. That is just absolutely stunning. Now, believe it or not, the Book of Kells was written on vellum from 183 calves, from the skin of 183 calves. And it's quite remarkable, the different colors within the book is just extraordinary and so forth. So it's really, really cool. Now we're making our way outside the gates here of Trinity College, and I want to focus your attention on this is the old Parliament building that you see over here to my right, and it was the old Irish Parliament, as I said before, that funded those buildings that you see there in Parliament Square, right here on the grounds of Trinity College. Now I've got to watch myself crossing the road here because I can make it across here now, and I want to go over to this island here. But this, as I say, is the old Irish Parliament. It dates back to 1729. Now, this is where all Irish affairs were conducted during the 1700s. And in here was the Irish House of Lords and also the Irish House of Commons. Now, unfortunately, it was closed down as a parliament in the year 1800 due to the Act of Union. And the Act of Union was where all Irish affairs were now to be conducted in Westminster in London. So the poor Irish politicians had to get up and leave their hometown of Dublin and make their way to Westminster. And it's a beautiful building. Today, since 1803, so closed down as a parliament in 1800, since 1803, it's been the Bank of Ireland, which is Ireland's oldest bank. So there you go, folks. It is the wonderful old Irish Parliament. Now, the Irish contingent in the old Irish Parliament was run by this man right here, and this is Henry Grattan. Henry Grattan was one of the great politicians of his day, and he was the greatest politician of his day, I should say, but one of the greatest politicians in Irish history. Now, his goal was to try and get Irish legislative freedom, if you like, and also trying to get economic rights for the poor Irish people of the day. Most of the poor Irish people would have been tenant farmers during that time, and they were discriminated against and so forth and didn't have equal rights. They were very, very poor. A lot of them were starving in a lot of cases as well. So he tried to get economic reform, and also was maybe one of the original home rule type guys trying to get like a home rule or home legislative freedom, like our own home government and so forth. And he fought his whole life trying to do so. And he died in Westminster at the age of 74 in the year 1820. And he's actually buried in Westminster as well. Now, he left a huge legacy here. There's a beautiful bridge named after him, the Grattan Bridge, between two major streets right here in Dublin City. And there's other statues throughout Dublin. And this guy was an unbelievable politician in many, many different ways, because he was known as a great orator. He was a brilliant public speaker. And all the other politicians, even though they might have been against his policies and so forth, they would listen on every word. He was that entertaining. He was like the Energizer Bunny, if you like. He was highly educational, but also highly enthusiastic, and had lots and lots of energy. And we're going to leave this park. This area that I'm in right now is known as College Green. And we're going to leave College Green and we'll make our way up towards Dane Street. And there's some absolutely beautiful buildings, as you can see, along this area of Dublin. And Dane Street would date back to the Georgian period of Dublin. And the Georgian period of Dublin would have been from 1713 right up until 1830. So many of these buildings that you're going to see right here are from that Georgian period. They called it the Georgian period because it was during the reign of the first King George I, and right up until the reign of King George IV. And then in 1830, you had the Victorian era here in Dublin, which is when Queen Victoria ruled. She ruled from 1830 to 1901. So you have a mixture. If you look at the buildings here, folks, you have a mixture of Georgian and Victorian buildings. And this area of Dublin is a very, very trendy area with lots of great restaurants, great pubs. There's a few theatres on it, and lots of great trendy shops, lots of restaurants, as I said before, as well. And also on this street, in Dane Street, you have the entrance to Dublin Castle. Dublin Castle was established in 1204 by King John of England. And it was the seat of government, if you like. It was run by the Lord Lieutenant or Viceroy. And they ruled right up until from 1204, right up until 1922, when Ireland got its independence. So this year marks the 100th year of Ireland getting its independence from Britain. So that is much to celebrate as regards that. And the man that actually got us the independence was a man by the name of Michael Collins, one of the great Irish patriots in Irish history. Just a remarkable fella. They all fought for a united Ireland. It was not granted. On the table was a treaty, and the treaty was that the British would give us back the 26 counties of the south of Ireland, but they were to hold on to the 6 counties of the north of Ireland. And today, it's still the same way. The Republic of Ireland, as they call it, 26 counties in the south, and then you have 6 counties in the north of Ireland, which are run still to this day by Britain under British rule. Also, you have further up the street here on Dame Street, you have City Hall, a beautiful, beautiful building. Once again, open to the public. And also you have the famous Olympia Theatre on Dame Street as well. Now we're coming up here to Crow Street, and we're going to take a right turn coming up here. Or I might have even missed it, folks. I might have even missed our turn. But if I did, no worries. I did miss it, but it doesn't matter. We're coming down here, folks, to Temple Bar. So this is the area of Temple Bar. As you can see, it's starting to rain out here, folks, but you can see the cobblestone streets here of Temple Bar. I'm going to put my hat on. And this
So
area
Dave,
of Dublin,
while you put your hat on, Phyllis has a great question. Is there a centennial celebration planned for 100 years of independence?
yes, they already had that. It was the 16th of January, Susan, this year. And that was the date of the handing over ceremony in Dublin Castle, where the British Viceroy or Lord Lieutenant handed over the keys to Michael Collins. And the Irish formed their own government then and were to rule the 26 counties, the Republic of Ireland. So it already happened, Susan. And due to COVID restrictions and so forth, it wasn't a huge attendance, unfortunately. But what can you do, you know? And maybe we'll celebrate it maybe at a later date because most COVID restrictions have been lifted. So we may be able to have another celebration sometime.
Oh, you're at my favorite spot now, Dave. This is my favorite part.
So folks, this is the Irish Rock and Roll Museum. And there's a wall of fame right here, folks. If you're into music, you will see some of the great Irish musicians of all time. You'll see on my left up top, and that is obviously the great band U2. I don't know if there's any U2 lovers here. And the next to U2, you have Rory Gallagher. Now, Rory Gallagher was one of the greatest guitarists in history. And most people would consider Jimi Hendrix to be the greatest guitarist. He was a left-handed guitarist from Seattle. An absolutely amazing guitarist was Jimi Hendrix. But Jimi Hendrix happened to be on a radio show one time, and he was asked by the radio interviewer, the radio interviewer asked him, Jimmy, what's it like to be the greatest living guitarist? And Jimi Hendrix turned to the radio interviewer and says, I wouldn't know, you'd have to ask Rory Gallagher. This guy was one of the greatest guitarists. In fact, the Rolling Stones begged him to be part of their group, but he turned them down to start his own group, the Rory Gallagher Experience. Now, he died very, very young. He's only 45, 46 years old. And but what a brilliant, brilliant guitarist, one of the greatest. Next to him, you got the Script. Then you have Sinead O'Connor on the far right there, another great, great singer and so forth. And then underneath Sinead O'Connor, you have Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy. And he's the one that actually started all here in Dublin as regards rock and roll. He was way before there was U2, there was Thin Lizzy and Phil Lynott. Absolutely amazing musician, fantastic. He was the founder and lead singer of the great band U2. If you ever heard the song Whiskey in the Jar, he's the guy that made that song famous, and lots of other great songs like Jailbreak and The Boys Are Back in Town. Next to him is Ireland's greatest ever balladeer or folk singer, and that is Luke Kelly. And he played with the Dubliners. The Dubliners were founded in 1962. They were a folk group playing in the traditional Irish music genre, if you like, and they were absolutely amazing. And then on the far right, on the bottom, you have Shane MacGowan from the great group The Pogues, absolutely fabulous. Fairy Tale of New York was one of his great songs. You might know that one. And beside him is Christy Moore, another great musician, a great folk singer as well. Absolutely fabulous. Then you have Van Morrison right there. And Van Morrison probably has more albums than most musicians alive today. He just has hundreds of albums. It's just incredible the amount of music he's put out over the years. And then last but not least, you got Bob Geldof from the Boomtown Rats and the man that started Live Aid. Live Aid 1985, one of the biggest events in history, which was a charity event for the famine victims in Ethiopia. Now, folks, we're coming up to Temple Bar. Now, this area, Temple Bar, is named after Sir William Temple. And Sir William Temple came here to Dublin in the year 1599. He was an Englishman. And this, where we are right now, would have been his gardens. So we had a big mansion here, and all of this would have been his gardens. Sir William Temple. And this is where the name Temple Bar comes from, is from Sir William Temple. There's a plaque on the wall, I'll show it to you, of him. But there's lots of, Temple Bar is known as one of the biggest tourist spots in all of Dublin, if not the biggest. It's the biggest nightlife for sure. It's just packed full of great, fantastic bars and what have you, and restaurants, trendy boutique stores, Irish-made good woolen stores and what have you, all kinds of great neat stuff. And but there's no place more famous than the Temple Bar itself, named after obviously the area Temple Bar. And we are going to take a trip inside, folks. There should be music. There's usually music going on all day long, and hopefully there's some music being played, Irish traditional music. So we're going inside, folks. Sorry, folks. Excuse guys. Sorry, folks. Excuse me. Sorry.
So Dave, this is wonderful. Unfortunately, we can't hear the music, but we can certainly see it.
There's a statue of James Joyce. James Joyce and his book, The Dubliners, a series of short stories. Irish pub England. No. I'm live streaming. It's not a photograph. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. There's lots and lots of different bars in here. The Irish harp, folks. This is the Irish national symbol, is the harp. And the Guinness mask right there. All right there, how are you? How you doing, ladies? Now, most of the people that you would see in this bar would not be Irish people. Will be traditional Irish restaurant there, right there, Shack restaurant. They would mostly be foreign people. So most of the people that go to these bars in and around Temple Bar are from all over the world. A lot of Americans come here, Canadians, and Europeans. But you won't find a whole lot of Irish people hanging around Temple Bar in the pubs. It's very, very expensive, although it's really good. This is Sir William Temple right here. As you can see, the man that owned all of this area here in Dublin, and who this area is named after, the Temple Bar area of Dublin. So as I said before, we're in his gardens right here. There's a great whiskey bar here as well. And how you doing, boss? How are you, man? How's things? How you guys doing? This is the whiskey bar here, folks, of Temple Bar, of the Temple Bar Bar. Absolutely amazing. There's one actually bottle of whiskey in here that is 400 euros a shot or something. Isn't it 400 euros a shot? 400 euros a shot, folks. Can you believe it? But anyway, absolutely beautiful place, folks. You ever come to this area of Dublin, come into the Temple Bar. Absolutely amazing. See you there, guys. Take care. Have a good one. I don't know if there's any whiskey drinkers in here, but there's absolutely amazing whiskies and so forth. You have the likes of Bushmills is Irish. You have Jameson, which is a huge, big Irish whiskey. But there's a ton. There's over 100 new whiskies in Ireland over the last, I'm talking about literally about the last 5 or 6 years. They've actually developed or produced an extra 100 Irish whiskies. It's on a huge upstream right now, a huge surge in Irish whiskey. And about 200 years ago, there would have been about 200 whiskies in Ireland, but then they all faded out of existence. And up until about 20, 30 years ago, there's only about 5 or 6 whiskies in Ireland. Now it's back and it's going strong. You have Kilbeggan whiskey, Kilbeggan, and you also have Tullamore Dew. Tullamore Dew, actually, they proclaim to be the oldest whiskey in the world. So there is a lot of disputes whether it is or not. I'm just going to make a way up here a little bit.
So while you make the turn, I just want to interject that there at the Temple Bar, if you are there at about, let's say 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night on a Friday or Saturday night, you see that we've got space as Dave is walking. You will have no space. It will be arm in arm, cheek to jowl people. You can't even think of Times Square on New Year's Eve. That's what Temple Bar is like.
I missed all of that.
I was talking about how crowded Temple Bar is at night.
Oh, it's absolutely jam-packed. You can't get inside a bar here. And they actually up the price of the drink after 11 o'clock, because they have to pay for the music somehow. And I want to show you this place, folks. This is Dublin's most famous fish and chip shop. It's called Leo Burdock's. It was established in 1913. And they have several locations in Dublin. This is not the original location. There is another location beside Christchurch Cathedral, which is the oldest one. But it is by far and away Dublin's most famous fish and chip shop. We call fish and chip shops here in Dublin chippers. Now, this has been visited by some of the great Hollywood actors and musicians and what have you, famous people throughout the world. Now, they've a wall of fame right here, and I'll show it to you and show you some of the names of the people that have been here. So the Hall of Fame, Wall of Fame, if you like. And you have Bruce Springsteen's been here. You've had the Williams sisters, Serena and Venus. Many, many, many great ones. You can pick your name out there, folks. There's so many. You know, a lot of the names you won't recognize because a lot of them are Irish celebrities as well that would only be known to Irish people. Look, you got Ray Charles, Nancy Griffith, Billy Connolly, the great comedian. Snoop Dogg, if you're into rap. Justin Timberlake, Sandra Bullock, Ben Kingsley, Billy Bob Thornton. I mean, the list goes on. Katie Couric from NBC. The list goes on, folks. The Wall of Fame.
And of course you, Dave, and
yeah,
me.
I haven't put my name down yet. It's actually they have to print it up.
Yeah, I know. My name's not on it, but my fingerprints are all over.
Well, I'll get your name put on it too, right? Before Paddy's Day, right? Before St. Patrick's Day, we'll have it done. And we're making our way, folks, here towards Merchants Arch, and we're gonna make a way because this area of Dublin is beside the River Liffey. The River Liffey is the Liffey that runs through the centre of Dublin, and it separates north inner city Dublin from south inner city Dublin. We are now on the south side of the city, but in a little bit, we're going to make our way over the River Liffey onto the north side of the city. But this is known as Merchant's Arch that we're going through right now. Very, very famous archway here in Dublin. But what's even more famous is the bridge that we're coming up to. And at one time, it was the only pedestrian bridge in Dublin, and it's called the Halfpenny Bridge. This is it right here in front of you, folks. The Halfpenny Bridge here in Dublin. First established in 1816, and before 1816, to show you the River Liffey here in Dublin, folks. But before 1816, there used to be a ferry boat run by a man called Willie Walsh that would bring the people over from the north side of the city, from the north side of the River Liffey to the south side, or the south side to the north side, versus back and forth. But then his boat, or his ferry, went into disrepair, and he's told that he would not be allowed. The condition of the boat was so bad that he was told you cannot run anybody else over the Liffey with this boat. But they said they will give you an option. You can build a bridge, and with building this bridge, you can charge everybody a halfpenny. So he signed a contract for 100 years where he could charge everybody coming over this bridge one halfpenny. So he built the bridge, no longer had his boat, and that was Willie Walsh in 1816. So it's over 200 years old. The Halfpenny Bridge, which was the only pedestrian bridge at one time in Dublin until they built the Millennium Bridge in 1999, just in time for the new millennium in 2000. Now I'm on Aston Quay right here, and this is one of the quays. It's one of the 25 quays along the River Liffey here in Dublin. And these quays are like roadways along the north and south bank, river bank of the Liffey. This is a big bus hub right here, Aston Quay, where you can catch a bus going through other parts, to many, many other parts of Ireland. You get the Cork bus here, you get the Galway bus here, Belfast bus here, you get them all, tons and tons of buses going all the way, all throughout Ireland. So on a Friday evening, you'll see stacks of people coming, wait about an hour or so, and they'll be jam-packed right here, getting on buses, going everywhere, every county that you can think of throughout Ireland. A lot of people will actually work here for 5 days of the week, country people, and they'll go home for the weekends. And when we're making our way here, folks, to O'Connell Bridge, and O'Connell Bridge is probably obviously the most famous bridge, that and the Halfpenny Bridge that I just showed you here in Dublin City. Now, the O'Connell Bridge is named after Daniel O'Connell, of course, and Daniel O'Connell was known as the liberator, or the Catholic emancipator, if you like. He was a politician and a lawyer. I'll tell you a little more about him when we go up here. But there's a really extraordinary fact about this bridge, and that is that its width is longer than its length. It's the only bridge, it's the only known bridge in Europe where its width is longer than its length. It's 50 meters in width, and it's 45 meters in length. And a very, very busy part of the town, because what it does, it leads you over the bridge and onto O'Connell Street, which is Dublin's busiest street. It's Dublin's main thoroughfare, named after, of course, the great Daniel O'Connell, who I'll talk to you about a little bit more when you get up here. Now, in 1936, there was the Eucharistic convention, or if you like. It was called Eucharistic something. I don't think it was called convention. But anyway, Eucharistic convention in 1936 took place here in Dublin. And there was like 15 cruise liners that came into town in 1936, came into Dublin, right up to this bridge to let the people off and so forth to attend this Eucharistic convention or whatever. And over 500,000 people, they say, were on this bridge to witness the Eucharistic Congress, or something it was called, the Eucharistic Congress in 1936. Now, there was a man that used to be here on this bridge on a daily basis from 1930 all the way up to 1980. His name was Arthur Fields. And what he did was he took pictures right here on the bridge, took pictures. And the people would come back a couple of days later to pick up their pictures. But he was here for 50 years, Arthur Fields. And he took over, in that time, he took over 180,000 photographs. Here's a beautiful view of the River Liffey here, folks, looking down from O'Connell Bridge onto the Halfpenny Bridge. Beautiful sights. Hope you like it, folks. Now, if you look over, just have a look at the width, folks. As I said to you earlier, look at the width of this bridge. It is so wide, unbelievable. Now, ironically, O'Connell Street that we're going to next is the widest street in all of Europe. There's no street in Europe that's wider than O'Connell Street here in Dublin. Now, this statue right here, folks, is of the great Irish liberator or Catholic emancipator, Daniel O'Connell, whom O'Connell Street is named after. Daniel O'Connell was actually a Kerry man from County Kerry in Ireland, and he was one of the great politicians of his day. Now, his goal was to get economic rights for the poor Irish people of the day. And he actually founded what was known as the Catholic Association. Now, back in this time, during the period where he was around, he was born in 1775, he died in 1847. But during the 1800s, when he was around, he did not. Is there a large department store? Yes, there is. I'll show you that in a little bit. He fought for equal rights and so forth. And he would have been one of the early civil rights leaders of his day, because Daniel O'Connell did everything through peaceful means, through politics, and not through the sword or not through the gun or so forth. He wasn't involved in any violence, or he was totally against violence. He did everything through political means, through dialogue and so forth. He was totally against any kind of violence, so he wasn't involved in any of the wars that took place here in Dublin, and there were many wars that took place here in Dublin. And because of his teachings of non-violence, his teachings were actually followed by Gandhi in India for non-violence and trying to get home rule, because he was also fought for home rule as well. And also Martin Luther King in the United States followed the teachings of Daniel O'Connell. If you look at this big thing in the middle of the street here, folks, it's called the Spire. It's like 200 feet in the air. And most Dublin people hate it. They don't like it. And it replaced Nelson's Pillar, which was here. And in 1964, it was blown to smithereens because Nelson was a British Army officer and fought against the Irish people. So it was blown to bits and was replaced right here. It was supposed to be put here for the new millennium of in the year 2000. But because of zoning laws and what have you, it actually wasn't established until 2003. They were 3 years late, but that's the way it goes. There's a great hotel over here. I'm going to show it to you in a minute. It's called Winds Hotel. It's starting to rain here again, folks. I don't want to get my gimbal too wet. If you look at this hotel down here, folks, it's called Winds Hotel. And James Joyce used to have breakfast in this hotel every morning. And this was in his early days because he did leave Ireland after a period of time. But the reason why he used to come for breakfast in this hotel, Winds Hotel, was because there was a waitress there that he fancied. And she used to serve him his breakfast every morning. And her name was Nora Barnacle from County Galway, from Galway. And one day he plucked up the courage to ask her out. And that day was the 16th of June, 1904. And this is the reason why Joyce selected that particular day for one of the greatest books ever written. Maybe some people say the greatest book ever written in the English language, Ulysses. So Ulysses, it tells the story of Leopold Bloom walking the streets of Dublin on the 16th of June, 1904, the same day that Joyce had asked his future wife, Nora Barnacle, out on a date. How about that, folks? And but the book was not published until 1922, even though it's the day it's set is in 1904. But this February the 2nd of this year was the 100-year anniversary of the publication, the first edition publication of Ulysses by James Joyce. Lovely story.
That is an incredibly lovely story. I know we're approaching the GPO, which is so exciting, so exciting. But we do have a couple of questions that I want to ask, and actually it's right to current day. That's why we love these live tours, because you're all here with Dave and we're all together. But people are noticing the support for Ukraine with the flags, and actually some people have noticed that the buses, some of them are blue and yellow. Now that's, yeah. So, well, this one is green and yellow, but there are blue and yellow ones, the same as the Ukrainian flag that passed as well. Have they been painted recently for that, or they're always blue and yellow?
There has been a lot of buses that color already, but I think they've put more out to celebrate, obviously, to remark, obviously, for the poor people of Ukraine. Now, there's flags up and down the street. The Ukrainian flag is up and down the street all over the place. On loads of different parts of Dublin. Most of the streets now in Dublin have flags up and down it with the Ukraine flag. So,
yeah, wonderful to see. And we know that Ireland has opened up its borders for any Ukrainian refugees as well.
Well, this is what they have a quota of 20,000 refugees that are coming in from Ukraine. 9,000 have already arrived here, and they're not being housed by the government. People are housing them in their homes right here in Dublin. So if they have an extra room, or they might have an extra 2 rooms, they're inviting Ukrainian people to come in, maybe a husband and wife, or young children, or whatever the case may be. In fact, my best friend in the whole world, his name is Hugh Kelly, and he's taken in 2 Ukrainian refugees. So it's really incredible. I wish I had a big enough house to do it myself. I don't. And but I did a charity event for Ukraine. I did on another network. I did a tour, which is Stand with Ukraine, and I did that tour just the other day, and we raised a lot of money, something like €300. So pretty happy with that.
Yeah, we're doing it on our network as well. And we also know that many of our guides are just so supportive of the guides who are in Ukraine. As you know, we work with Olga and a number of others. So thank you for that, Dave.
No problem. This, Susan and everybody, this is the world famous GPO, the General Post Office. Now, this was established in 1818 and is the oldest continuously run post office in the whole entire world. But that's not what it's famous for. It's famous for an event that happened in 1916, which was known as the Easter Rising, that took place here in Dublin. It was a 6-day war. It was a war against British occupation here in Ireland, and it was made up of volunteer armies, including the Irish Citizen Army. Now, a proclamation was read out right here on the doorstep of the GPO in 1916 on Easter Monday, the beginning of the Civil War, the 1916 Easter Rising, or Easter Rebellion, if you like. And given that speech was a leader of the 1916 revolution, which was Padraig Pearse. And he gave out the proclamation, which stated Ireland to be a free nation and a free government nation, where the Irish Republic would run its own country and with its own government and so forth. I won't go too much about that war because it was not a successful war. After 6 days, the Irish were outnumbered and they had to surrender, which is very, very unfortunate. But there's a great museum inside here in the GPO, all about the 1916 Easter Rising tour. I could do a whole tour on the 1916 Easter Rising, but it would take a couple of hours because there's so many different locations throughout the city that the 1916 Easter Rising took place in lots of different buildings. Now you'll see today, I'm going to go over because during this conflict and so forth, there was lots of bloodshed, and there was lots of bullets flying all over the place. And you have some of the original, the bullet holes are still here from 1916. You'll see a bullet hole right there, folks. We can get a little closer. But there's bullet holes throughout. Have a look at the bullet holes right here. There's a bullet hole right
there. You can even
there.
put your finger in one of the bullet holes. Yep, there you go.
My finger's right in it. And here again. Bullet holes all over the place. Now, what happened was that the British were actually on the River Liffey, and they had a boat on the River Liffey, and they had tanks and guns, and they were very, very well equipped and so forth. So they were shooting right down where most of the leaders of the 1916 Easter Rising were actually here in the GPO. So they were shooting down from the River Liffey, where I just showed you, O'Connell Bridge. Right there was our ships, and they were actually firing right here at the GPO, because they knew that's where all the leaders of the Rising were. Now, each one of these leaders of the 1916 Easter Rising surrendered after 6 days, and then they were executed, folks, much to the uproar of the whole world. But there was one of the leaders that was not executed. And the reason why he wasn't executed was that he was not born in Ireland. He was born in the United States. He was born in New York. And his name was Eamon de Valera. And de Valera went on to be two-time President of Ireland, two-term President of Ireland, and then was served as Prime Minister. The name of the Prime Minister in Ireland is Taoiseach. Taoiseach means, in the Irish language, means leader. But you guys, or in Britain, they call it Prime Minister. So he's three-time Prime Minister, three times Taoiseach, Eamon de Valera. None of that would have happened if he was executed that day in 1916 with all the rest of the leaders of that rebellion. So there you go, folks. How are we doing for time?
So Dave, you have a perfect timing. You are amazing. We are just at the top of our hour. Sadly, we have to say goodbye to you for now. I am lucky because we're going on 6, 7, 8. I lost count of how many tours we're going on this month with all of our fabulous groups, just like My Health Angel. So we are just so delighted, and we are so grateful to Nicole and Ashley and the whole team at My Health Angel for bringing this to so many people. Memories for many of you who have been there, new for others. We've now seen every weather, by the way, in Dublin. I think I've counted like 9 weather shifts so far in our tour.
Yeah, it's constantly raining, stopping raining. Have a look at the beautiful rainbow right here, folks. Look at the rainbow.
Oh my goodness, there's the rainbow. That's fantastic. You ordered that right up for us. Yes, and of course, Ireland and the pot at the end of the rainbow on right before next week. Look at that, guys.
That's your wow moment right there. That's the luck of the Irish. Look at that.
Luck of all of us. Luck of My Health Angel. So I am telling you, it is unbelievable, Dave. This was yet another one of our fabulous tours with our travel circle and Wowzitude and our friends at My Health Angel. I want to thank you. The joke in Ireland is, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute. So this is great, and you ended us with a wow moment with a rainbow. I want to thank you. I think we're all prepared to celebrate next week for St. Patrick's Day. We're all Irish on that day. So I want to thank you so much, Dave. You are wonderful, as you always are. And we are very fortunate that you took us around to your Dublin today.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much for all the viewers for watching. Hope to do another tour with you guys again soon. I do lots of tours around Dublin, so this is not the only one. I do many other ones.
He does. Thank you, Dave. We'll see you later. We'll see you later in the week.
Yes, this was amazing.